Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's high energy guest is Viki Zarkin of I Am the One. Because Viki suffered from a very rare type of cancer. And as far as she knows, she's the only one living with it today. And her story is empowering, and she will empower you as well. So let's go and say hello to Viki. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhide, health coach and personal trainer and founder of HighEnergyGirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Create Whole Body Wellness, a powerful new advancement in energy medicine. Increase your energy, empower your life. I am super excited to announce that I am now a bioenergetics practitioner. And many people are like, well, what is bioenergetics? So imagine that our body is controlled by our energy field, and these fields get distortions and blockages, which create physical and emotional symptoms. So how do we get energy blockages? From stress, toxins, EMFs, emotional traumas, physical scars, and physical traumas. All you need to do is decode the human body field to get to the root cause and restore your energy for life. For more information, head on over to the blog at highenergygirl.com/bioenergetics with an X. That's BIOENERGETIX, and heal your energy for life. Hey, Viki, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Well, I'm excited to chat with you, my dear. So for the listeners that don't know you yet, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, in terms of my story, I guess this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So mainly, I have a story to tell, and I want to share it and use that story to help women. I'm very passionate about helping women in healthcare. But if I had to back up and say what my story was, I can tell everybody that I am the only one living today with my aggressive form of cancer. So taking that in, I can tell you how I got to where I am today. And just like anyone else, about 11 years ago, I had my routine mammogram, and they told me right off the bat, you have cancer.
Like that day in that appointment, they said it right then?
Wow. My doctor called me right away. I mean, I wasn't even barely home before so it was definite that you could see it prevalently, that they felt confident enough to say that. And so from there, I went to Johns Hopkins, and that's about 2 hours from me. And so it was my mother, my husband, and I called ourselves the Three Musketeers because the testing was grueling. I mean, we must have gone back and forth practically every single day for almost 8 weeks. 8 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, test after test after test. I'm like, when are you going to tell me what stage I'm at? When are we going to tackle this? I'm thinking, it's breast cancer. This is, there should be by now there should be, a way to repair this. So finally, after all that period of time, they tell me that they found for me the best oncologist at Johns Hopkins. And he's ready to meet with me, and we can discuss my treatment. So we go into this very small medical operatory, and my husband and my mother were to my left, and the doctor's talking, and he's just sort of going on and on and on, and I've checked out because I have no idea what he's talking about or what he's saying. And so it was, to me, it was I liken it to the Peanuts teacher, wah, wah,
Oh.
wah, 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 So finally, he stopped talking, and I did like a rewind in my head. You know how you do that sometimes just to catch up,
Uh-huh.
because you heard it, but you weren't really listening to it at the time. So
Yeah.
I did that rerun in my head, and then I was snapped to attention very quickly. And the me that had walked in the room that day died right then and there. And the person you're speaking to today is the person that jumped up and lunged across the room and grabbed the doctor by his shirt collar. And he wasn't looking at me. And I pulled him in close because I needed him to see me for the person that I was.
Mhm.
And I said, you talk about all these people that you were consulting, all these doctors that you've consulted with at Johns Hopkins, but you didn't consult me. You didn't ask me what I wanted. And I said, I don't care what you cut off me. I don't care what you do to me. I am going to be the one. I'm a mom. And then I realized I had my hands around somebody's neck, and I was like, oh my God. So I pulled back, and the room, was really, really quiet. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to call security. But he didn't. It just remained really quiet. And then it seemed like a long time, but it's not. You know how that is with adrenaline and everything. And he looked up at me for the first time, and he said, okay, I'm not promising anything, but we'll start you on chemotherapy and we'll see how you do. Is that okay with you? And so what happens from there is the real thrust of the story, because he knew then so much more about what was going on in my body, and I needed to catch up really quick. I knew that day, he told me to go home and get my affairs in order, that I'm terminal. And I know that I'm going to have to really, really fight, that this is going to be a fight for my life. But I knew one thing: I wasn't dying. I don't care what he said. And I was not letting anybody but me raise my kids. Call me a little controlling, whatever. I was not letting anybody raise my kids but me. So there was no way I was dying.
So how old were your kids at that time?
They were, my youngest Bella was in kindergarten going into first grade. So she's like 6, 7 years old,
Yeah.
going in 8. And then my son, my elder son, he was in I believe the 5th grade at the time. So he was about 11, 12. Yeah, right in there.
And what was the diagnosis exactly?
Well, the diagnosis was metastatic stage 4 cancer. I had cancer all over my mediastinum area. And the mediastinum consists of everything above your chest. So but for me, it was everywhere. I was riddled in cancer. He had a good reason for telling me to go home and get my affairs in order. I mean, I had cancer in my neck, my esophagus, in the left ventricle of my heart, the left lung, all through my mammary glands, all through the chest cavity wall, wrapped around the breast, wrapped around the nipple, like 30 lymph nodes were infected. I was truly riddled in cancer. And the crazy thing is, I was getting regular mammograms, even though I was a little young for that. I had been getting them since my 20s because I had had a benign issue back then. So I literally had a mammogram 1 year before, and I was 100% clean. And then I go 1 year later and I'm riddled in cancer. So that gives you an idea of exactly how horribly aggressive the type of cancer that I have is.
Mhm.
And so that's how I'm the only one surviving with it today, because it's really not survivable. And
So what's your secret? I mean, clearly you did something different than everyone else.
well, I don't know if it's a secret to believe in yourself. I think that had a lot to do with it. I mean, I became my own advocate. I fought like hell. There was a series of things that I had to accomplish. Okay. So the doctor said I had to get a 98 to a 99% result of shrinking of my tumor before they would do the radical double mastectomy. So that's like next to impossible. That's like unheard of, to be able to shrink the tumors that much. But guess what? I did.
How?
And I think that was pure. I think that was pure me just fighting like hell. And I got to the next step. I got the radical double mastectomy. And then Johns Hopkins wanted me to do photon radiation. And that's what every breast cancer patient is doing. And photon radiation is the radiation that you're all familiar with. It's pretty much standard use. And what the problem of it is, it's like a big, huge blast, but there's no control. It scatters everywhere, and it enters from the front and it goes right out the back. So everything that it hits, it damages. So even though I may have survived cancer, I would have died of congestive heart failure, because it was going to hit my heart and my lungs that were infected. And of course, my throat and my neck would have been severely deformed, and so forth. So I sought out a doctor to do proton radiation. The proton radiation today is being used specifically for brain cancers, brain tumors, and prostate cancer, because the difference is proton radiation is a pinpoint radiation. It can be maneuvered, it can go around your organs, and it can stop on a dime. So it doesn't go in one way and out the other. There's a lot of control that you have with proton radiation. But at the time that I was ill, there was 7 proton radiation facilities in the world. So wow. That's like Switzerland had one, I think Germany. I think there was one at Anderson in Texas. I mean, there was just very, very few.
Where did
Today,
you go?
there's a lot more.
Where did you have your treatment?
I went to Bloomington, Indiana, to the university there. Oh. And the center is actually no longer there. The cost to maintain these facilities are unreal. They take up, just to give you an idea, just to get it in, they take up city blocks and blocks. So if you're a hospital like Johns Hopkins in the middle of a city, or Sloan Kettering in the middle of a city, you just don't have the real estate to be able to house proton radiation. They just don't have the space. So therefore, they're telling me this is my only option. Well, you know what? It's not my only option. It's just your only option. So they had told me early on, if I didn't get all my treatment done at Johns Hopkins, that they would not remain my doctor. They would just have me find another doctor. They were not going to transfer my chemo cocktail or anything like that, because I was far too an aggressive case, and they didn't want to be responsible if that were the case. But there was no way I was doing photon radiation. And so I, had to convince Johns Hopkins that I was better served at another place and get them to sign off so that I could come back and complete, because I am been on chemotherapy treatment for life. So it's been now 11 years, and I've been on 11 years without missing of chemotherapy. Let me tell you, that does its damage in of its own.
So a second ago, you said that you were not going to do photon radiation, but did you mean that you were not going to?
No, if I did photon radiation, I would die of congestive heart failure. So I wanted the proton radiation.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Problem is nobody was doing it. Nobody, not one breast patient's ever done it. So I did find a crazy doctor that was willing to do it for me. And that was in Bloomington, Indiana. And he was, I mean, my hero. But, you know, it wasn't easy. In order for him to do it, it was 2 hours prior to me even getting there of mapping me out. I mean, 200 man hours of just to map me. And then they had to do all these molds, you know, like the molds that you see people do for like horror movies and stuff, where you're getting all these plaster, you know, of your face and your head and your chest and all this plaster molds I took. And then when you begin the radiation treatment, I had to have it every single day. Most people have it once a week or twice a week because, you know, it's a very strong blast. But I had to have it every day because they were moving the beam through such a large area. And the difference between the proton too is because it's a beam that comes at you, I had to be, it's almost like you're in a football field or a dome, or like even I liken it to a planetarium where, you know, I'm just raised up into the clouds on this skinny little table that, you know, you're not really strapped in. And, you know, you lay up there and you get beamed every day. It was quite an ordeal. The place where I went, they pretty much were just doing brain cancer on children. So I was really the only adult in the waiting room that whole, you know, 4 months or so that I was there. So it was awful, you know, seeing the children all the time.
Oh gosh, I bet.
And they had to put them under anesthetic every time they sent them up into that beam, because if they moved,
they could fall.
They would fall, or yet the beam would be directed in a different area. Because remember, it's pinpoint. So you need to not move. That beam needs to go exactly where they want that beam to go. So all the kids were put under anesthetic. So because I didn't need to be, I was, you know, I wanted all the kids to go before me. So what would happen is I went and got my treatment during the summer, and the heat would shut down the system semi-regularly. And they'd have to bring somebody in from Germany to fix it. And they had somebody on site to do that for them. That was one of the only facilities around that had somebody on site. In fact, patients were flown in from other facilities that went down for the same reason, and ours remained going because we had somebody to fix it on site. But for me, then I would be called at all hours. I mean, I didn't have, you know, I didn't go in at 9 o'clock every morning. You know, I went at 2 in the morning or 5 in the morning or midnight or 3 in the afternoon. I mean, every day I never knew what time I was going to get treatment, because especially if it went down, we wanted to take care of all the kids first, because we didn't want to call in a kid at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning. You don't want to disrupt a child's sleep like that. So I was the expendable one.
You're lovely.
Oh, thanks.
Wow, what? So you were there for 4 months. So did that, and then you had surgery after, or what
I
came
had surgery right before. I don't even know how I got down there. I mean, like, I had surgery and like literally 2 weeks later, I was on a plane down there. I could barely walk. I was in such bad shape. They had to wheelchair me off the airplane. I looked too like, whew, I looked bad.
Well, okay, so you said though that they wanted everything shrunk by like 90% before they would do the surgery. So how did you get to that point?
Well, I through the chemo, I shrunk it. Then I went and they couldn't do the proton radiation unless I'm fully flat. So I couldn't even expand anything to try to expand my skin in case I wanted to revive some skin to for breast tissue to make breasts in the future. I couldn't do any of that. I had to remain flat in order to get this particular proton treatment.
Wow.
So it was a good 4 years later before I was actually even a candidate for anything in terms of reconstruction. And it certainly wasn't a candidate for implants. I was getting, every time they tried to put an expander in me, I landed in the hospital 4 different times for infections because of that. They had to open me up, flush me all out because it was a really bad infection. I was just getting sick from my chest wall was so damaged that it couldn't accept anything. I was just so sick.
Gosh, bless your heart. That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
How'd you get through all that? I mean, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally.
Well, I just knew that I was going to raise my kids. But, I did have one little interesting thing that made me mad and sort of speared me forward. When I was getting all my tests, I met the main doctor that did all the biopsies and so forth. And he and I, you figure over 2 months, of me getting all these crazy tests, we became, acquaintance with each other. I was on the table or whatever, we would talk. I would ask him a little bit about his personal life and vice versa. So he and I learned that we had a lot in common. We had children that did similar after school activities and things like that. And the specific thing was my eldest son, Dell, was to be bar mitzvahed. We are of the Jewish faith, and he was to be bar mitzvahed in 2 years when I started all of this. And the doctor that I'm referring to, his daughter was going to be bat mitzvahed in a year. And so it's a very, very exciting thing. I don't know if you know what a bat mitzvah is,
Yeah,
but
totally.
it's a coming to life for the child, and it's a huge ceremony for us.
I've been to 2 actually.
Okay, so you all have an understanding. So it's a big deal in a family's life. And when I was diagnosed and told to go home and get my affairs in order, I ran into this doctor soon after in the hall. And I knew that I could trust him because I didn't really know too much about this oncologist at this point. And I asked him at the time, I said, am I going to make Dell's bar mitzvah? And he did look me in the eye. And he said, no, I'm sorry, you're not going to make it. And I just walked away, and I had such determination because I knew he was kind. I knew that he was trying to tell me his honest feelings, but I knew that it wasn't happening. I'm sorry that he's misguided. And so when we got home later that afternoon, I didn't tell anybody, but I went to my desk and I wrote out a check for a venue for the bar mitzvah party that we were looking, had interviewed and looking into having it there. And I got in my car and I drove down there and I marched up to the manager and I slapped the check down on his desk and said, book me for that date we discussed. We'll be there for the party. And I turned around and walked away.
You are awesome. Good for you. So you set your intention.
Yes.
Basically, and
that very same day that he told me that, I went home and I marched myself right up there. And I don't know what possessed me to do it. I just knew he was wrong. And I was going to put my money on me.
Good for you. And how did you maintain that attitude? Because it sounds like you went through a lot of trauma. I mean, physically.
I did go through a lot of trauma and some people that weren't nice and a lot of different things. I mean, I wrote a book that's just coming out now for Breast Cancer Awareness Month called I Am the One, which how appropriate is that? Mm-hmm. And in the book, I talk a lot about some of these things that you're asking me now. And that's one of the things that I addressed, attitude and how did I remain that. The thing is, I never really said, why me? I just looked forward. I don't know why. It just was. The minute I was told I needed to go home and die, I flipped right into, the old me died, the new me came, and I was in fight mode from there on. I liken it to like a tunnel vision. And I was fighting a battle, almost metaphorically, because I was sort of fighting this like Japanese fight in my head. And I was really for 2 years only partially present because I was in the fight of my life inside my head. And so I would just, I would answer people, yes, no, and so forth. But I reserved some energy, of course, for my children, the personal me. But otherwise, I was like a walking zombie.
Well, I bet.
I was fighting. And I had, that was all I was putting all my energy into. I didn't bother with anything else, not sweating the small stuff, not sweating anything else, not worrying about anything else, just fighting.
And so like, what does that look like exactly? I mean, because besides the treatment that the doctors were actually doing, what were you doing to complement that?
Well, every time there was something that like I couldn't do or was told not to do, I would just make something up for me. Like some of the doctors were giving me bottles and bottles of narcotic painkillers. Back then, you didn't know what you know today, but I knew, it wasn't all over the newspapers and TV like it is today, but I knew that there's no way I was going to take that crap. I had baths to give, homework. I mean, even if I have one day, I'm going to spend one day present here, not pretending that I'm not. What does that get you? Today still, I'm in pain constantly. I mean, let's face it, I've been on chemotherapy for 11 years. It does something to your body. I mean, I've got rheumatoid arthritis, I've got sarcoidosis of the lung, I've got osteoporosis. I mean, I have a lacerated hip. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I'm a mess. But I get up every day thrilled to be here. And if I were to talk about all my ailments and all my complaints and how much I was hurting that day, I wouldn't have time to enjoy the day. There's nothing you can do about the pain. The pain is going to be there other than what I was doing for myself, of course. My self-care, I would do the best of my ability. But what's left is what's left. And complaining about it isn't going to change it.
Right.
So let's enjoy your family. Enjoy being the mom that I loved having that gift to be. And I vowed to help somebody every day. And every day for 11 years, organically or on purpose or whatever the case may be, I helped at least one person.
That is amazing. Tell me more about that. Like, what would you do, for example?
Well, like I said, a lot of things sometimes mostly happen just organically. You know, things come to my attention and I'll fix it. So, or like I was in downtown Harrisburg, and there was a homeless woman that didn't have a coat. I took my coat off and gave it to her. You know, it was in the moment, an organic, you know, because she didn't have a coat, I gave her mine. Or, you know, people that are on the street that, you know, are asking for money. I never give money. I give food. So I'll take them into a restaurant and make sure that they have a good meal. And it's frustrating for my family members because, you know, we're in a hurry. We're going somewhere, or we're, you know, we have to be somewhere at a particular time. Like even like a surprise party. You don't show up for surprise parties late, you know, because then you wreck the surprise. But if I would run into somebody that was hungry on the street, I don't care where we were going, we would halt right then and there, and I would take them to go get them food. And the humane way was to let them sit down in the restaurant as much as I could and have them eat. So I would accompany them, tell them to order whatever they want, paid for it, and then made sure that they could sit down in the restaurant and nobody was going to discriminate against them before I left.
Oh, bless your heart. That is beautiful. And how was that received by like the other people in the restaurant or the staff or?
Well, some of the places, you know, didn't want them there. But most of the places didn't mind.
Well,
You know.
I'll tell you, that's why you're the one, because you are giving blessings to everyone that comes across your path. And so I believe there's something called the Hedge of Thrones. Have you heard of that before?
That one I have not heard of. No.
It's like until your purpose on this earth plane has been fulfilled, you'll be protected. So you've just got like this hedge. And clearly, Viki, with what you do, you're needed. You're like one of those old souls that is here to make a difference and help people. And so that to me explains why you're the one, because you're doing the work of, you know, spirit, like you're doing angels work on earth. You're probably, I would love to see your soul chart. Like you're probably yeah, you're probably like a master soul or something really, really deep.
Oh, wow. That is so interesting to me and so kind of you to say. I appreciate it. I don't know. I don't think much about it. I mean, I did when I started writing my book, I had no memory of what I had done to get from point A to point B. And you know, your mind, I think, is a kind thing. And I had to go through so many scary, awful things that I think that I just didn't remember. And so one of the things I remembered was I made a promise to God that if I could raise my children, that I would help women. And I take that very, very seriously. And so the key was because at first I was just all over the place. And I had to kind of rein my passion in and say, okay, how can we keep our promise to God in the best of our own abilities? Because I'm one person. And so I did start a movement called Lunge for Healthcare. And I want to take it global. and I got a board of directors now, and I'm developing a new website. It's on my website currently, but I'm developing its own logo and its own website. And, you know, I'm looking for help wherever I can, because what the premise right off the bat for this is we're looking to help women. So I'm suggesting that we break it down up front into two parts. The first part is we're educating women to tap into their own instincts, to help them follow their gut when it comes to their own health care. And more importantly, for all of us to teach our daughters that. So the next generation is not begging for scraps like we are. In a sense, that's what we're doing. And then the part two is asking doctors to listen first, diagnose second. You know, they're coming into the room now with all this corporate pressure, and, you know, they have to have a diagnosis for you and get you in and out in a certain period of time. Well, you know what? That's not cheaper. It's not. It's costing more. We're spending more in medications. We're spending more in unnecessary surgery, and women are dying. And let's get back to preventative medicine. That's all I'm suggesting. Listening is preventative, because then, you know, you're saying, oh, okay, well, this is what she's going through. And the two of you together as a team can make a decision. The medical provider along with the person, or, you know, the female. And if my hope is, if we can save the millions of dollars in insurance monies that this so definitely should be able to do easily, then I propose that we take those dollars and give it back to all the women's health qualities that they took away from our insurances. Like, for example, you know, you can't get a mammogram until you're 50 now. Well, it used to be 40 or earlier. Well, there's enough money now after my movement comes through. They should be able to put that back. So we want to make real change in the healthcare industry. And that's how I can help women.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't realize that it was 50 now. I think they should have, I mean, here's just listening to your story, Viki, like I'm thinking in my head, if they had such an aggressive, if this is such an aggressive cancer, which obviously it is, why did they take so long to come up with your absolute diagnosis? I mean, testing for all those weeks and then finally being able to start treatment. I mean, how did it expand in that short time?
They didn't know. They thought I was stage 3, I think. And the doctor that I told you about, the one that he and I got a rapport because of our kids, he suspected it was stage 4. The only way they would have been able to really say that it was stage 4 is if they cracked my chest open, because the tests that they were giving me were too benign. You know, we're talking about inside my whole heart and my lung. It's not going to just, you know, show up what stage it is. You're going to need to really test that. And so in lieu of cracking my chest open, this doctor did a procedure that he had never done before, because I was pretty tough. I mean, I was determined I was going to go through these tests. And like I promised, I didn't care what they stuck in me or what they did to me. And so I kept my word on that. And so, you know, whatever they did to me, I held. I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I was like the pillar patient. And so he knew that he could probably get away with this with me. And he said, you're going to have to hold really, really still for this, because I'm going in where I can't get you numb.
Ooh, did that hurt?
like more than childbirth. He took a needle and he took it directly all the way through past my lung. He had to be so precise because if I moved, you'd nick that lung
Oh my gosh, that's
or nick the
frightening.
heart. So he
Wow.
had to trust in me, that
Wow.
I was going to tolerate that pain. And I moved the tiniest bit. I mean, I don't know how I only didn't inside I was screaming. I mean, and it's instinct. Like you're not perfect.
Oh, sure. Your
And
nerves
so
just fire.
I moved a tiny bit. I mean, it hurt so bad. And he pulled out real quick. And I said, did you get? And he said, I got a little. I don't know if it's enough. And and then when I found out that the alternative was cracking my chest open, I'm like, do it again, do it again. Go for it. Hold me down. I said, just hold me down. Strap me in. And he said, no, I can't disrupt the site a second time. It was one and done.
So, but it was enough.
So it turned out that material that he got was enough to prove that I was stage 4 metastatic.
So if they didn't know that, if they thought it was just stage 3 and they didn't do that test that they did, would the treatment be different? I mean, why did they need to know?
He would have told me to go home and get my affairs in order. He would have probably tried treating me.
But that's what they did, right?
Yeah, only because I grabbed him by the neck. But
I'm just curious
but they
about
wouldn't
that.
have done, once they got in there and saw from the mastectomy how much I had, they would have closed me up, and that would have been the end of it.
So knowing what you know now about that entire process, is there anything you would have changed from your perspective?
How can I? I don't look back.
I'm not saying for
Yeah.
you personally. I'm saying
No.
for if you were to give women wisdom on if they
Oh,
had a
yeah.
similar situation.
Oh, I can tell you, I'm already working on that because that's so important. And that's such an excellent question. And to coincide with the book, I spent the last year teaching, getting taught on how to do workshops. And I developed a workshop, and I call it There's More to Cancer Than the Diagnosis, which kind of mirrors what happened for me. And the reason for this course, it's my way of paying it forward. And then I ask everyone else to pay it forward too, because ultimately there is no course out there that teaches you the pitfalls of what to expect.
Yeah,
The
sure.
raw, real pitfalls. So this is like a day in the life type of stuff. What I'm teaching them, all the pitfalls that I fell into. I mean, there's not anybody really that knows as much about cancer probably as I do. I mean, I might not know a lot of the technical stuff, I'm not a doctor, but based on what I've been through, I know pretty much. And I, want to help them not go into insurance bankruptcy. I mean, you can lose your house over this. I mean, that proton treatment that I told you about, I got denial after denial after denial. That was $600,000. How do I pay for
to me
something
is
like
a
that?
problem.
I bankrupt my whole family.
Yeah, that to me is upsetting. I mean, there's got
Which
to
is
be a
why I
better
want to
solution.
change the healthcare system and but you have to start with baby steps.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to email you some stuff to take a look at that I think may complement what you're already doing, because I come at things from a different perspective. And that's why I asked you, what were you doing as a complement? Because there's things that our doctors can do, and then there's things that we can do. And I believe that, you make a little sandwich with that, right?
Yeah.
Or as I prefer, a salad. But like, maybe that what they're doing is like the lettuce, and then maybe you're doing something else on your own that could be like, say, I don't know, the salmon, or you know what I mean? And so you
And
create
so
this
why
little,
not maybe work all together to
yes,
create for the common good? I'm all for that. I would
yes.
take any and all help anybody wanted to give. And the reason for this course is to give people their own strength and their own, and keep them from getting into trouble. Because, you go into that treatment, that's intense. If you go in stressed, like I was, afraid I was putting my family into, bankruptcy, afraid for my young children, afraid, all the things that they were bombarding me with. You know what I'm saying? How can you possibly heal yourself through positive vibes during that procedure?
Oh
So,
yeah.
right. So you have to be really, really strong, like I was. And the average person is not. It's just the way it is.
Right.
So if I teach this course and I teach you how to not fall into any of those pitfalls, and that you have all your problems behind you prior to going into treatment, just think of the survival rate then.
Mm-hmm.
That's how important this workshop is.
Yeah. When are you doing it? Where are you doing it? I mean, do you have it
I'm
already
going to
set
be
up?
doing it on Zoom. I also have a TV station on Life Balance TV. So
Cool.
a channel. Yeah, very cool. So I'm going to be hosting it on there, and I'm keeping it small, just 10 to 12 women each time I take teach the class, because it gives you an opportunity to interact with people. It's my belief that the people that meet in my class will be friends for life.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
going
good
to be that
because
class.
they need their tribe to rely on each other,
Yes,
I want to tell
and
you something.
like-minded people.
So I'm going to tell you something really interesting. And I don't know if you've heard this before, but it's something I learned about a year and a half ago. So with the whole COVID thing, I've been really focusing on how do we build our immune systems, right? Because a strong
Right,
immune system doesn't just protect you from illness, but it protects you from disease.
right.
Okay. And did you know that stress suppresses your immune system enough that if you were getting, like I say, a kidney transplant, they give you a drug to increase your cortisol, your stress hormone, so
Yeah,
that your body doesn't, so it shunts your
yeah,
immune system so you
yeah.
don't reject the thing. So when you're stressed out about, oh, go and get your things taken care of, or you're stressed out about all this stuff, you're actually hurting your body's immune system to destroy the cancer cells to begin with.
Exactly. You are exactly right. Excuse me. Yes, 100%.
So it's like when they tell you this stuff, they need to not give you fear. I mean, hope over
Yeah.
fear,
Yeah, right.
you
They have,
know?
most people look, look, it's not easy to tell somebody to go home and get their affairs in order. So think about that. You have to almost turn yourself into a robot to be having to tell people that. So I understand that now. I mean, I just wasn't having it. That doesn't mean I don't understand it.
What sign are you? When's your birthday?
My birthday's April 19th. So I'm right on the end of Aries. My brother was born on the 20th and he's a Taurus.
Okay, so you're right there on the cusp.
I'm right on the cusp. Yeah, a little bit of both.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I can see that Taurus, that little like fighter in you. So that's good. So where are you now? Like what do you still have like cancer? Like what's the scoop
Well,
with all that?
I'll always, what I say is I'm surviving. I'm not a survivor. I'll always have the threat of this metastatic cancer. So that's why I have the chemotherapy treatment that I get every month. I liken it to this because I'm so highly aggressive. So because the year before I had a clean mammogram, and then the year I got it done, it was everywhere. So that gives you an idea of exactly how aggressive that cancer is. So I liken it to, I've got this big boulder hanging over my head and I'm holding it up with my hands. And if I let my hands go, what happens? The boulder crushes me. So I'm grateful for the chemotherapy that I get, regardless of what it does to me.
Yeah.
I'm keeping that boulder up. I am not letting that boulder fall.
You're a strong lady, Viki. I imagine Atlas,
Yeah. Well, it's not easy being me. I would not wish this on anybody. It is not fun being me. I'm tired all the time. I'm hurting all the time. But I'm lucky in so many ways. I mean, I have this motto that I've used from day one, and it just came to me, and I don't know how, but I've used this motto from the very beginning, and I just say, I'm the luckiest girl around. I just happen to have cancer. I've been saying that for like 10 and a half years.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And how old are your kids now?
Well, because I was able to amp all of this up, I was waiting for me to be an empty nester in order to have the time to promote the book and do the course work and travel for my national speaking that I do and so forth. So my youngest is 18 and she just started at Indiana University and in Bloomington, if you can believe that.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't tell her or anything. And I just said, when she picked the school, she's at the Kelly School of Business there. And when she selected that, I just said, you know what? Done. You're going to have the best 4 years of your life. It's a lucky place there.
Wow, that's so
cool.
You're
going to be okay, Isabella. You're going to be okay. And my elder son, he's the more creative of the two. He's into music, and he's at currently he's at Full Sail University in Florida.
And where are you?
Transferred. I'm in Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So my kids are very far from me. My son is, 19 hours, and my daughter is 10.
Well, I live in California. My oldest is in the city in Manhattan. So.
Oh, it's the same. The opposite. Yeah. She's as far away as my kids. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really far.
Yeah, it is far.
He calls me every morning, and right now he's in London for work. So he's still calling me and texting me. And so
it's nice. I get that too. I think that if you can let go, they'll come back. And it was very important to me, as hard as it was to have them leave, because they've been my whole life. Mm-hmm. Truly, they have. It's their turn to fly. And I would always encourage them to do anything that they wanted to do and to fly as high and proud as they can. I taught them to be kind. I taught them to help others. They have all of that. And now it's their turn to go out and see what they're going to do in the world. And I think Isabella is going to run the world. And I think Dell is going to make the world beautiful with his music.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So how can people find you to, sign up for a workshop or see one of your speaking engagements or get your book?
Well, my book you can get on Amazon or Target or most bookstores, but you can also get it on my website, which is where, to answer your question, you'll find out all the other answers. You'll find out about Lunge for Healthcare. You can buy my book on my website. You can learn about when my course is going to be and sign up. There's an email sign up sheet on my website. I encourage everybody to do that. And my website's very simple. Are you ready for this? IamTheOne.com. Now, how are people going to forget? Yeah. iamtheone.com. So that's all you have to do is dial up iamtheone.com, and all the other answers will be on the website. And you can write me. You can get in touch with me there. So I have a calendar of events. And so if anybody wants to hire me to speak out there, I would be very grateful for that. Because, the louder my voice, the more people I can reach.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to make an impact in a speech. I love to see the looks on people's faces, whether it's Zoom or in person. I love, and to be able to spread the word of inspiration, just to tell people some of the things that they're worrying about just aren't that important.
Mm-hmm.
And help people set their priorities.
Yeah, that's really true. And most of the things that people worry about don't even happen anyway. So
They do not.
I love the quote. It says, "Worry does not take away tomorrow's problems, but it takes away today's peace."
Oh, I love that quote. Where'd you get that?
I don't know. I love quotes.
I never heard. You are good at quotes. Yeah, that's like your third or fourth quote you've given me. I like that one a lot. I liked there was the other one too that you had mentioned in the middle, something.
I don't know.
I have memory issues because of all the chemo. So I can't remember to say which one. I just liked your quotes. That one was lovely.
With your ongoing health things, there's so much you can do, like for your brain health, like as I said earlier, as a complement to everything else that you're already doing. Because the doctors don't teach us any of that, right?
Right.
I mean, my dad died of cancer last year. He had it like 5 different times. And his doctor says, well, it doesn't matter what you eat. And
That's what they said. It doesn't matter that you take all these narcotics. I'm like, yeah, it matters. I want to see my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still here. I'm still living. I'm on the earth.
Yeah.
Yes, it matters.
And I've been studying nutrition for 15 years. And I said, Dad, you can't eat all this sugar. And he would be sitting at chemo, eating candy and cookies and just garbage. And I'm like, why are they doing this to you? Like, I just was so frustrated, but he didn't listen to me. He goes, sorry, Trace, you're not my doctor, and his doctor, like if I would have met him, we would have gone head to head, because I believe he should have been on a completely different diet than he was,
That's hard, because a lot of people, it's like the only thing that they had left, the only thing that they can control. That's how a lot of it is viewed. How much are we going to give up?
Well,
now we have to give up this too.
No,
I like this.
It's finding a substitute that gives you the same pleasure. There's so many options.
That's how you look at it. But for somebody that's sick with cancer like me, I've talked to a lot of people about this sort of thing. And you strive for a certain type of control, some kind of control, because everything's happening to you. And so food becomes one of those things. It's a weird thing. Some cancers, though, you're just too sick to eat. Breast cancer is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they're pumping you with so many steroids and everything. It's a real nightmare.
Yeah, my best friend, she was 11 years cancer free, and she just found out she had breast cancer, and she just found out a week ago that she has lymphoma, and they're calling it from the breast cancer. So
right. You should call me. I coach too, and she should take my class.
Well, I'll send it to her. She is, for me, because she's my best friend, she's not coachable with her and I together, but right. I can tell her that we just did this interview, and
I'd be happy to help her.
send her your website and everything.
Yeah, it's what I do.
But I'll tell you what I did for my dad that worked. I made him these delicious like peanut butter cups with coconut oil, all natural peanut butter, and chocolate protein powder. Yeah. And I made him these cups and froze them. That was a perfect solution for him.
Well, that's exactly what you do. You have somebody, a loved one like you want, and most of the loved ones are feel like there's nothing that they can do. And it's a very difficult position for them to be in, your loved ones, your family members. So you want to do something, do what you did. Be proactive. You're the best kind of family member. The best kind. Because we can't think. We don't want to think. We don't want to have to study. We don't want to have to, you just want to get through the day. Mm-hmm. And you have somebody that delegates for themselves like you're the best kind of family member.
Well, too bad I was in California and he was in Florida, but when I did go visit, I would always cook for him. And they liked that because I cook really clean and delicious. So,
and you could have cooked for him every night. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, if he was closer. So anyway, Viki, listen, you are a lovely girl and I love your spirit and your energy and your drive and your giving. Oh my goodness, that touched my heart. What you said about bringing a homeless person in and to a restaurant, and you're going to just do great things. And I'm super excited to meet you and I can't wait to see where you're going to go next. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And if everybody wants to help out, buy the book or sign up for my website and so forth. So IamTheOne.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend, give us a rating on iTunes, and check out the show notes page so you can head on over to Viki's website at IamTheOne.com. Thank you so much again, and go out and make it a great day, you guys. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.